boy, some days these vlogs are super easy. I get them done in one take, post it, job done. Some days I feel like I'm an alien trying to communicate with human beings and it takes me a hell of a long time to make any sense, and today feels like one of those days. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. It's great to have two wheels back on the channel. Before I get started, I really wanted to quickly mention this was the 1000 subs sticker that we designed last year. My girlfriend Annabelle designed that. We printed them and shared them for free with those of you that wanted them to celebrate 1000 subs. The reason I mention that is because we are almost at 2000. Who knows if I'll get there or not, but any suggestions for the new stickers, colors, text, the bike on the front? Right now it's the CF Moto. I no longer own the CF Moto, so that's going to have to change. Please do let me know. Also, that brings me on to, if you've been here before or if you're new here and don't subscribe, please do consider doing so. It helps me out. And also my goal is to try and fill this helmet with Papancha stickers. Right now I'm at 1. 2000 will be 2. So it's kind of now a lifelong goal. Who knows if I'll ever make it? Probably not, but we'll see. And it would help me out. So yeah, do consider subscribing. I'm losing my mind today. Here's the Continental GT 650 from Royal Enfield. Beautiful bike. Classic cafe racer style looking thing. Deceiving. Everyone that stops me in the street asks me how old this bike is. They think it's super old. They're like, that thing looks like it's in great condition. That's 2019. That's probably why. So in today's vlog, I'm going to talk about the GT versus the Interceptor, why I went for the GT over the Interceptor this time, why I've decided to stay with Royal Enfield and take this thing out for a spin. Before I get started, let's start this thing up because it sounds gnarly as hell. Here we go. Whoops, that's the kill switch. That is not a stock exhaust. I should quickly say that is a Tech 2-in-1 Stinger exhaust. I think. Really recommend it. Really recommend it. For those of you that are new to my channel and have no idea who I am, my experience of Royal Enfield so far has been, last year I bought an Interceptor 650 after having owned the Triumph Street Twin before that. Mainly for the reason of cost. These things are super affordable, they're cheaper to maintain, they're simpler to maintain. If anything goes wrong, they're cheaper to fix. And they're cheaper to buy and insure. So it was kind of a no-brainer. Triumph, Royal Enfield, let's get a Royal Enfield that frees up some money to go and do a big tour, which is what I did. So I went on a tour from London to Bosnia and back on the Interceptor 650. Had a fantastic time. They're not the perfect bikes for touring on. Obviously, they're not built for that. But you know what? I wouldn't have changed the bike because I had a flipping amazing time out there. I did 7,000 miles across Europe, there and back, to Bosnia and back. And then over the course of last year, I did about 11,000 miles on that bike. So, had a really great time. Had a couple of issues, which I'll go over in this vlog. But otherwise, yeah, love that bike. Then this year I bought the Continental GT. Now I've done about 2,000 miles over the past 2 months on this bike and I'm loving it. And I think now I've got a good gist of which one I prefer out of the GT and the Interceptor, why I prefer it, and just the differences that I feel in riding them now, having ridden them both a fair amount. So that's a bit about me. Should we talk about the GT and the differences between the GT and the Interceptor? Because there's barely any and it'll take me a few seconds. Let's quickly do that now. The only real differences with the two bikes is the setup and the positioning of them. So on the GT you've got clip-on bars, on the Interceptor you do not, which makes it a little bit more sporty. The tank has this cut out, which I love and was the only reason why I actually bought the GT this time, because I love the tank. Obviously you could put that on the Interceptor, but they're quite expensive actually. And then the pegs, they're further back. on the Interceptor, they're around here, just behind the oil window. On here, they are further back, as you can see, and that is it. I think the suspension might be set up differently as stock, a bit stiffer, but I'm pretty sure it's all the same other than those things. For me, I'm a 6'1", 6'2" kind of guy. Here's how I look sat on the bike. So yeah, I'm slightly further forwards. On the Interceptor, you would be more kind of here, I would say. A bit more upright. I personally like being forwards a bit more. It takes the pressure actually off my back a little bit. My wrists don't ache riding this thing. I like the tank. I can really grip it tight. You can really tuck down on this thing. And the feet being back. I did about a 6-hour ride the other week on this to Yorkshire and back. I will say my knees are full of metal. They got pretty sore after about 4 hours, but I do prefer the riding position of this bike in comparison to the Interceptor. It just feels more engaging. You can really throw it around. Something about this feels quicker. It has got a few modifications on it, which I'll go into, but nothing really that's going to increase the performance apart from the pipe and an air filter. But yeah, I like the positioning on this. I will say that whilst I was in Europe last year, I did a lot of gravel tracks on the Interceptor, and I wouldn't want to do a gravel track on this. What am I doing here? I'm going to sit on it backwards now. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. That's better. Just simply because it feels more sporty. I also prefer the look of this. There's just something about it that feels more kind of compact, a bit more meaty. When you're riding it, you just feel like really engaged. On the Interceptor, I felt like I was sat on it too much, whereas this, I feel like I'm a part of it, and I like that. So that's the only real differences. Okay, let's quickly talk about the few modifications that I've done to this bike. I don't really ever modify my bikes that much. I'm not really bothered about modifications. I just like riding them. But this one came with a few. It has the Tech 2-in-1 Stinger exhaust. I think that's what that one is called. It sounds phenomenal. You can ride it quietly. You can also open it up and it sounds like a freaking monster. I love this exhaust pipe. We've got the bag on the side there. Max gave that to me for nothing, for a beer that I still owe him from Sunday rides. That is a raw and rugged bag. It just goes over the side panel. I quite like covering that side panel, to be honest. It has got the GT logo on there. We've got tail tidy on the back with billet indicators and a custom stoplight. I think that's from Motone. Maybe. I'm pretty sure it is. We've got the tidy front mudguard on there, the front fender. Some custom, I say custom, just modified bar end mirrors. A little peak on the front, which isn't really worth showing, but I do quite like it, like a little cowl kind of thing on the front there. And then it has got a custom, I say custom again, it's got an aftermarket air filter on, which does seem to do something. I have to say, it definitely feels more nippy than my Interceptor. But otherwise, that's it. And I don't really care about doing anything more to this bike. People complain about the suspension. I don't really mind the suspension. It's fun, you know, I'm not racing it. You can really whip this thing around in the corners. It does bounce around a little bit sometimes, but it doesn't ruin my ride. I haven't got to change it. In terms of pillion use, I've had Annabelle on the back of this bike. She finds it very comfortable. She actually finds this one more comfortable than my Interceptor. And that might be because I've forgotten to mention one thing on this bike. I'm pretty sure this is a touring seat. I don't really care. It's not changed anything for me, but Annabelle has said that it is more comfortable, so there we go. Maybe for a pillion it's worth getting. And that's all the modifications on this bike thus far. The servicing intervals are every 3,000 miles. It's very easy to do it yourself if you wish. That's the beautiful thing about these bikes. There is a massive market for aftermarket parts on these things. You can really make it your own if you want to. Modifications galore, and they're very, very easy to install, often plug and play. So if that's your thing, there's a huge market for it. And I know with the Interceptors this was the case, but they come with a 3-year, I think it's unlimited mileage warranty, which for me is huge. And it saved my ass a couple of times with the Interceptor. The biggest thing was the gearbox. That went in Austria. I managed to ride it home, had a year warranty remaining on it. They replaced the whole gearbox, no charges. So that was great to have. You know, I knew I was doing a big trip. I thought, well, okay, I've got 1 year's warranty left. It was a pre-owned bike. Let's just ride the hell out of it and see how it goes. I took it through 40-degree heat. I took it over mountains. I took it over gravel tracks. I took it through water. Let's not mention this to Royal Enfield because I might get that warranty revoked. But anyway, they covered it. It was fine. It's now been sold and the bike was fantastic. I loved it. And I also love the GT. Which one do I now prefer? I've got to say, I think I prefer the GT. But that is only because I have another bike now which I can do the off-roading stuff on. I did start taking the Interceptor off-road a lot with knobblies on. If you want to see it, you can go check it out. I took it off 2 or 3 times on the trails. It definitely wasn't up to it as stock. The suspension, the forks blew out. The thing was bottoming out all over the place. Obviously they're not set up for it. Obviously I pushed it to its limit. But you know, it was fun. It was fun, but I do prefer the GT just because I feel like it's more aggressive. I prefer the way I feel sat on it. I do personally feel more comfortable on this bike. And I think it looks cooler and that means something. I think it's a cooler looking bike as it comes. The only real cons I would say is yes, this is a bit more aggressive in riding style. Top end speed isn't massively fast, so if you're doing a lot of motorway miles, yes, maybe it's not the perfect bike for you, although it will stay at 70 and hold 70 fine. So if you're doing the speed limit, not really an issue. There are a couple of vibrations at 70 miles an hour or over, and obviously there's nothing on the front to stop the wind, so it is quite buffety, but it's a motorbike. If you don't want to get buffeted, get a car. Any other negatives I can think of with this bike? It's got limited features, but for me, that's a huge pro because the simpler, the better, the less that can go wrong, great. And if anything does go wrong, there's less to diagnose. It's very, very simple. So I like the lack of features, but some people I know like to have more computer stuff and more things going on, but I personally prefer less. They're not really built for speed. They're not that fast. They're not really built for comfort. They're not that comfortable on long journeys. I will not deny that. Although I have done 13, 14-hour days on the Interceptor whilst I was touring around Europe. They're not that comfortable, but I'm not fussed by the comfort really. And if you want a comfortable bike, obviously you go and buy like a multi-touring bike. So they're not really made for speed, they're not really made for comfort, but they are packed full of character, and that's enough for me. I love it. The way it looks, the styling of it, it looks like a classic bike. It turns heads in the street. They ride so well, they're so smooth. The torque on them is beautiful. The sound it makes is beautiful. The look of it is beautiful, obviously, as you can see. If you want a beautiful bike that turns heads, puts a smile on your face, these are the bikes for you.